Hi, I'm Jennifer. I'm a speaker coach and I also coach people in how to present well on video. So you want to tell the world who you are and what you can do for them, but you might not have done this on video before. So here are 10 quick tips on what you should do. Here's tip number 1. Prepare, prepare and prepare. There's no getting round the preparation stage. Know what you want to say, understand who you're saying it to, and so understand and prepare the language that you're going to use when you say it. Get a picture of the audience in your mind. What are they going to want to hear from you? What is your special passion? What is it that's going to really draw people into wanting to work with you? And then put it all together and rehearse it in your mind. What is it that I need to be clear about here? What is my main passion, my main point to get across? Okay, and here's my second tip, rehearse. Okay, I know that sounds a little bit like tip number 1, but once you've done the preparation, you really have to rehearse what you're going to say. You have to hear it, you have to say it out loud and hear it. Only then will you hear when things don't quite gel, when things aren't quite working out, and then you can change them. You know, when I used to work in TV news and current affairs, whenever I did a piece to camera, I used to rehearse it out loud before I went in front of the camera like I'm doing now. If you're in that environment, you'll find all these reporters, especially on a big story, pacing up and down, talking to themselves, mumbling to themselves. That's what they're doing. They're rehearsing what they have to say in front of the camera so that they know it's okay, so that they know they can say it. Take a leaf out of their book and rehearse yours yourself. Now, tip number 3, very obvious, but you would be surprised how many people don't do it. Check your appearance. How's your hair? Do you have bits all over your jumper? Is your necklace straight? I hope mine is. Have you got earrings on that are very distracting? Do you have bangles on that are clanking and jangling? You know, because anything that detracts from what you're saying leads to a wasted opportunity. You don't want the people watching you not to hear what you're saying, but instead be thinking, God, look at all the jewellery she's got on her arm. Or, wow, I really can't abide that tie. So consider what you're wearing and check your appearance before you turn on the camera or before somebody turns it on for you, so that you know that you are not going to offer any distraction from what you're saying. Okay, tip number 4 is breathe and relax. Breathing is really at the key of presenting either on video or presenting in general. Breathing will help you remember what you have to say. It will slow you down. It will help you project your voice, which you have to do on camera as well. How does it work? Well, think about this. If you're breathing deeply and, as we say, coherently, in and out. So in deep into your diaphragm and then out. You are getting oxygen into your blood. The oxygen manages to actually get to your brain. And so rather than forget what you're going to say, you remember it because your brain is constantly oxygenated as it should be. So it helps you in that way. It helps you in another way. As I said, it helps you project your voice. It also helps you look and sound more credible. When you're breathing deeply, you're more relaxed, you're more confident looking, and people pick up on that. We'll talk a little bit more about breathing and credibility later on. But breathing also relaxes you. I don't mean you need to go to sleep, but it relaxes you so that you can just enjoy the experience. And when you enjoy the experience, it comes across. So breathe deeply and relax. Tip number 5, keep your energy high. Now, I don't mean that you have to be shouting and screaming and behaving like a youth TV presenter, if they have those these days. What I do mean is that you have to really enthuse. If you're not enthusiastic about what you do, why would anybody come to you and ask you to work with them? Get that passion into what you're saying. Really enthuse about it. But don't, wave your arms around like a mad thing. Don't jump up and down. Keep it quite contained, specifically on camera. Keep it quite contained. Look at what I'm doing here. I'm projecting my voice. I'm breathing deeply. I'm using my arms and my hands, but in a contained way so that you don't get me sort of flying off like this, which can be distracting. So, up your energy. How do you do that? Before you start, take a moment, take some breaths, focus. Focus on something that is really good, something that you really love, something that lifts your energy. Okay? There's no good focusing on, oh, I don't want to do this, oh, I wish I wasn't in front of this camera. That will not help you. Think of how excited you are. Think of how fabulous it's going to be to get this video out there. Think of how excited you are to share your passion. And then you'll start raising this energy that you need to project through the camera lens and into the audience sitting on the other side at home or in their office. And my 6th tip is smile. Smiling. It's so important. Now, you might have a very serious thing to share with your audience. However, a smile is such a key method of communication. It really engages with your audience. So even if you have something very serious to say, even though you might be very serious about it, a smile will always engage with your audience. And it's doubly important when you're on camera. If you notice people who present on TV or on videos online, you'll notice that the best presenters always smile, even if they're presenting serious content. So get your smiles at the ready and go for it. Now here's my 7th tip. Always look into the camera. When you're doing something like this, always look directly into the camera lens. Now, when you first do this, it feels a little bit uncomfortable because you're not actually looking at anybody. But here's a tip. Imagine that that camera lens is somebody you really love or get on with, your mum or your girlfriend or boyfriend or husband or wife. Imagine their face right where that lens is, and imagine that you are going to tell them something fantastic. You can't wait to let them know what's on your mind. Then you can start to relate to the camera lens. You've heard photographers talking about relating to the lens. That's what they're talking about. How you visualize somebody there. Now, you have to do this because unless you do not quite jump. There's like a chasm to be overcome to get into the living room or office of the person who's watching your video. So keep that energy high, as we've said before, and look straight into the lens and project to somebody who you're envisioning on the lens and tell your story with all your passion. Now, a lot of people ask me how they can increase their credibility. So, tip number 8, the credible pattern. Notice what I'm doing. I'm standing with my feet, you can't see them, but my feet hip width apart. My back is very straight. I'm quite still. My arms are sort of waist height. I'm talking quite monotonously and go down at the end. Notice how that voice pattern goes. It goes along quite flat and down at the end. Notice how my hands are. They don't really leave my side, but for emphasis, I might do something like this. And notice the pause. Pausing, closing my mouth, and allowing the information to sink in. That is the credible approach. Now, when you want to make a point and you want it to be heard, that's how to do it. So you slow down and you breathe. You speak slowly, you speak deliberately, you go down at the end. When you're making the point, you always go down at the end. And if you want to just get into that state, here's a little tip. Just put your palms down, and then the rest of the pattern will follow. And that is how to be credible. Now, of course, you don't always want to be credible. Sometimes you want to be engaging, you want to build rapport with the audience, you want to ask questions. Please tell me your experiences. I want to know. Notice the difference in this pattern. I'm moving a lot more. I'm leaning into the camera. My palms are up. I'm talking quite fast. I'm not breathing quite so deeply. Actually, it's quite a shallow breath. And I am also talking up and down, and sometimes go up at the end. Now, if you notice that pattern going up and down and up in the end, you might be forgiven for thinking it might be a little bit Australian, because they do talk like that. A little bit like that, you know. Think about it. That's a pattern that makes us think that person's okay. We like that person. We want to be with that person. They sound like fun. If that's what you want to create, if that's the feeling you want to create in your audience, that's how to do it. So a lot more movement, leaning in so my back isn't so straight, speaking quite quickly and moving up and down in my voice tone, moving my arms around, palms up. That is approachable. That's me building rapport. And finally, tip number 10, always leave them with a call to action. Think about it. What do you want your prospective clients to do? Do you want them to call you? Do you want them to get in touch with you online? Do you want them to fill in a form? What is it that you want them to do? You have to tell them. Otherwise, they do not know. Yes, they might be looking for help. Yes, they might think that you're the person who can help them. But psychologically, make sure they're in no doubt as to how they bridge the gap from being the person watching your video to being the person working with you. Tell them how to do that. Leave them with a call to action.